Okay, this is going to be a tutorial video about how to use GIMP and some of the things I do in GIMP, which is a photo editing software similar to Photoshop. I started shooting in RAW a couple years ago, and I like it. It adds an extra step, but if you make a mistake somewhere along the line, or your camera makes a mistake in auto exposing or color balance, it makes it a lot easier to change. If I don't need to do those changes, I'll grab it right straight from RAW. So here's the RAW picture, and here's where I converted it to a JPG, and I have to use JPG in GIMP because it won't work with RAW. You have to convert to JPG first. So let's close this one down or minimize it. Here's the picture I want to start with, and I didn't notice this picture right away. I didn't know it was going to make a great shot, but once I worked it up, it is a really, really nice picture. So let's start. The first thing I usually do is the crop. So I'll go over here. Here's your toolbox for GIMP. That's the crop tool right there. So I double click on it. I always like it to bring up this box, and I usually set it to 5x7 or 8x10. So we'll do an 8x10, and I do it fixed so that aspect stays in place. And I always like to use a 2/3 grid. That's for composition purposes. You try to line your subject or the points on your subject that'll give it an interesting composition. If you line those on the 2/3 marks, it helps. It makes for a nice composition. I don't remember exactly how I composed this when I did it the first time. Something like that. You see his ear is on the might want to do it a little tighter. I mean, the little boy looking at his hand is definitely what the subject is, and then his father's face in there too. So his father's nose and eyes are down around the 1/3 level here. You know, you got a 1/3 level here. His hand is setting at a 1/3 level. So that kind of gives it a nice composition. So let's click in the center of that now, and that'll change the composition to the way we've drawn it in an 8x10 format. Then I like to make it as big within that format as I can. I don't think it's going to take 25, so let's type in 18 here and see what that looks like. Hit enter. That might be a touch big. I like to be able to see the whole thing. No, not yet. Don't have it all yet. Gonna be close. Might have to go back to 17. Just can't quite get it. Let's go to 17. There we go. Now we got the whole picture in there. Now I can look at it and decide maybe I want to crop it again, try cropping it again, see if I can get something I like even a little bit better. I don't know. You know, the more I can show that little boy in his hand, that's the subject I want. Puts the dad's eye right on the 1/3 level. His temple on the 1/3 level, hand on the 1/3 level. Let's click on that and see if I like that. I kind of like that, because now we're getting to see this young man. Okay, so I've done the cropping. The next thing I usually do is exposure and colors. So I like to use levels and always try the automatic first and see if that gives me a color balance and exposure I can live with, and it doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to click OK and accept that. You can also use in colors. Let's do the levels again. In fact, let me show you this. Once you've done either levels or color, and let's say you close it down, all you got to do is click on your picture and it'll bring it back up. Now we've already done the levels and accepted that, but you can also edit it in curves. If we hadn't done levels, we could have done curves. We can still do curves, but you can see usually an S-shaped curve gives you a nice balance of contrast and colors. It deepens your colors and it improves the contrast. We've already done it, so it's overdone now. So we're You can reset that to 0, and then let's just cancel it because we're already happy with it. Next thing I would do a lot of times, I don't know that this picture really needs any more color in it, but one of the tools I use, and I'm going to go ahead and do it, we'll decide whether we want it or not. In FX Foundry, under Colors, is Lasom's Lab Wow. Great, great. I use this all the time. Has great colors and a great look to it. You got to bring up the box. You know, somewhere in this area, 42 is going to be way too much for this, but you can blend it down, and that's the great thing about it. This one will make its own copy, so you don't have to worry about making a copy first. But watch and see what happens. Look how the color's really intensified. Now that's way too much. So here's this top one here, and you see how that's highlighted in the darker gray. So whatever you do on this, you're working on this top copy now and not on this bottom layer. So what I want to do is show you how this blend tool works, and it works once you've got 2 layers. You're always working on. You can't really do the opacity on the bottom layer, but you can do opacity on any layer above the bottom layer, and it will affect the layers beneath. So let's cut this color effect that we just did in half. There, it's cut in half. That's not too bad. It's still bright. Let's cut it down to about that region. All right. That doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too overdone. There's what it looks like without it. When I shut the eye down, it's making this invisible. There's what it looks with extra color. Without, with. So let's just keep it on there. That still might be we'll back it off just one more notch. That's going to be a very subtle change, but we already had pretty good color. So we're going to accept that. And I could leave this up here, but I think I'm going to go ahead and merge it because I want to do some other steps, and it keeps it less confusing. So now I'm going to merge that down. So now it's combined with this, and we can't change. See, if we change the opacity now, then the alpha channel starts to show. So that's why you can't ever change the bottom channel. Now, this is a trick I use a lot of times, especially when I use 80 to 90% of the time. It's a type of vignetting effect. What you do, and I'm going to make an extra copy on this. No, wait a minute. First let's do this. I haven't sharpened this yet. Usually I like to do all my color, everything else before I sharpen. I go to Enhance. Unsharp Mask is my favorite sharpening tool. It's contrary to what it says. It actually sharpens. It doesn't unsharpen a picture. And this is the standard setting, 5 and 0.5. And I use that, and it'll sharpen it up and make the picture crisper. Although this picture's pretty sharp to begin with. Let's see if you can. Well, I can't show you the difference because I didn't make a copy, but that's fine. I can undo it. Let's go to the undo file. All right, right now it's sharp. Here's less sharp. You can see, look on the little boy's nose and lips. You can see when I'm going back to sharp. There's a little bit sharper, less sharp, sharper. Just enough to make a difference. So now let's go back to this view. What I'm going to do is do this vignette now that I use all the time. You click on this, it create a new layer. Click on foreground color, which is black is our foreground color, and that's what you always want to use, black, when you're doing this vignette. And then click OK. It adds another layer up here, which is black. This is something I learned not too long ago that is just super fantastic. Using these layers in different modes. We're going to use this in a soft light mode. You see the difference? It made everything a lot darker. Now here's the cool way you do the vignette. You come back over here, get your lasso tool, and I'm going to draw an oval around this little boy and his father's head. Bring that into, yeah. We'll see. I forget again exactly how I did it when I did it before, but I want to keep his hand in there. I want this sky to go darker. it's going to leave kind of a halo looking effect around this little boy and his father, and everything else is going to stay darker. So we're going to go up like this and reconnect it right there. When it reconnects, you can let go of your mouse button. Now we go to edit and we clear. That clears. Here's your layer, your vignette layer, your mask. Over here, that clears that darkness back out of it, but leaves the rest of it dark. Then you select none. You can see the line where this is. We're going to blur that line in a minute using the Gaussian blur. We go back to filters. I haven't used Gaussian blur yet, so we're going to go into the blur, use Gaussian blur. And you want this number. Let me drag this down so we can see it a little bit better. This picture now cropped, its widest thing is 3,426 pixels. So I like to use anywhere from 10 to 20% of that number. So 10% would be 342, and 20% would be up around 700. So let's take it just below 700 and try that. Now watch what happens when we blur this. What we're effectively going to do is blur what's visible here, and it's going to blur these edges and make them fade away so you don't see that distinct line. And that gives the little boy a halo effect. Sometimes I'll do that twice if it's not strong enough. I'll make another black copy and do it twice to get him to pop even more. That's pretty nice. I kind of like that. I don't remember if I used a double one before or not, but there's without the vignette, there's with the vignette. Without the vignette, with the vignette. Now I know these videos are not going to be sharp once I post them to YouTube. The videos themselves that I make with this Camstudio software are really pretty incredible, but you lose a lot of the quality when you post them on YouTube. YouTube doesn't uphold the quality. So let's do that one again and just to see what it looked like if it's done double. Foreground color, which is black, hit OK. We got to go up and put it into the soft light mode. Then we're going to draw roughly the same circle around. It doesn't have to be exact. This is all going to be blurred, so it doesn't matter. This will turn this sky even darker again. I'm going to come down a little lower this time because I don't want to get it too black down in there. I might regret that. I might have been better off just doing the corners. We might even redo it one more time. We'll see. File. Oh, no, we want edit, clear. Then we want select, none. And then we want to go into filters. We just did Gaussian blur, or we can go here and we can find all the ones we've used as long as we haven't closed this program out again. They'll all be listed here, so you got shortcuts to your favorite ones that you're using. If you're working up a bunch of pictures, you don't have to keep hunting for them down in there. You just go to recently used. So we're going to just repeat Gaussian blur and see what happens. See how it looks. There, now it's blurred. Now see, this got too dark. I really shouldn't have done that. These parts down here got too dark. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to back it up. Take out that line I drew and redraw it. And I'm going to do it this way. I'm wanting to darken up that sky a little bit and give him more of a halo effect, but I don't want the lower regions of this photograph getting any darker than what they are. So I'll go outside and all the way around the outside and do that. Now effectively, all we're going to darken further with the second vignette is the sky itself. So we go to edit, clear, select, none. Now you can see the line here in the sky. There's no light down here because we kept it outside, so we've kept this lower part of the photograph light. It got too dark on the second one. Now I have to run the Gaussian blur again. Go to filters, repeat Gaussian blur. Now we'll go back over here. We don't want the repeat history. We want to go back to the layer menu. Here's what our layer looks. See, this is all the only part that got dark, and the rest of the photograph stayed the same. Now you can see what the difference looks. The sky is darkest here, less dark there. Darker sky, less dark. So that second vignette, all that did effectively was to darken the sky. Same thing here. We can do this one. It'll look like that. But I like both of them stacked together. I think it gives it a really interesting look. This here's a little bright. I almost wished I'd have cut that corner now with the vignette and darken that corner up just a touch. But that pretty much is what you got. Like I said, when I shoot in RAW, I don't have anything set in my camera. Most cameras have settings that add some sharpness and some color saturation, some contrast right out of the camera. But I shoot in RAW and I set my settings so everything is plain Jane, and that way I can add what colors I want. So my RAW pictures look worse coming out of my camera than what most people's pictures look, because your camera has already added a bunch of stuff to it that I've chosen not to, and I'm going to add it myself. So it makes every picture more work when you're doing it that way, but it allows you to be a little bit more creative. Now to save this picture, I would go to I gave this JPG a name all its own, so I can go to File and overwrite that JPG that I wrote. I always move this up to 100%, save it at 100%, and export. And that is one of the tricks, or one of the ways I work up a photograph in GIMP. Here's where I saved it to. Here's the original one I did the other day, and have post. Oh, you can see I got the sky darker in this one. I don't know if I did a third one. I don't really remember, but you can see that's pretty similar to that picture. This is the one we just made right here, and you go up here. Here's the original in RAW. Doesn't have much color to it. Doesn't have the crop to it. Doesn't have any extra contrast or anything. That's raw right out of the camera. So that's the way you do it. Thanks for watching.